Hi guys and guyettes, I guess that's what they're called. Welcome to another episode of TJM, the Jagman. It's been a few weeks, sorry guys, we've been busy with other stuff. The bloke has to make some money somehow, do some real work. But we're back in the Waggy garage and we've got a stack to do. First of all, I want to find out why the return solenoid valve is allowing fuel to get back into the right-hand tank when the left-hand tank's got fuel in it after we've just cleaned those valves out and put a new one in the left-hand side. We'll tackle that. And then after that, I'll want to get the big old red thing up there off the four-poster. But before we do that, I'm going to attach the trailing arms that are not on the car, and I don't know why they're not on the car, mainly because I think the subframe cradle, rear suspension cradle had been removed with the car and I never got a chance to put those back in. So we'll get that done. We'll drain the oil on it, excuse me, while it's up there, and maybe change the filter if I've got a spare one. I think I have. Get up there and then drop it off the four-poster, roll it back, and then I want to get Miss Daisy yellow thing up there for an oil change. And I don't know if you remember when we first started it, it was leaking oil at the bottom there when the engine's running at quite a hefty pace. And it's that little bastard hose that runs from the fuel, from the oil pump to the sump, and it's just a little rubber thing. Hopefully we might be able to get that off and fix that up as well. So we'll get stuck into this one first. Okay, I removed the right-hand fuel return solenoid. This is the old one that was working. And when I took it off, I actually blew through this side when it's supposed to be closed. And it was actually letting air come through the other side, and it's not supposed to. It's meant to be fully blocked. So I clicked it on the battery just a few times off and on and gave it another blow backwards and forwards, and now it's completely sealed. So it must have had a bit of dirt or something lodged in it. I don't know how, but anyway, I think it's going to work now. So I was going to just take it out and just block off this return pipe until we get this tank sorted out, but I'm going to put it back in, so save me having to come back again. All good. Okay, so I put the solenoid valve back in. I've tested it both ways by switching the tank to left and right. If you switch it to the right tank, it works. It pumps through to the right tank. If you switch it to the left tank, it now completely seals off the right tank, so it's not leaking. But just to make sure, in case it gets bumped inside the cabin, so we don't want any fuel going back in this tank again, I've disconnected the wires, and when we get this tank sorted, I can just connect those wires back up again. But at least we know we're not going to have any fuel coming back into this tank because it's leaking. So we'll put the rest of the gear back together. Well, I've come back in the garage again and I smell fuel. Really? So we go to the back of the car and say, where's it coming from? And it's coming out of that tank again. Plug's not in it. It can't be that return valve. I double checked that. So scratch my head. Yep. This one's not working properly either. Perhaps I should have bought new ones. So I've unplugged it. Put a bolt in there. And so hopefully that fuel tank is now completely isolated from everything. Can only wish. Well, first job, we'll just throw these trailing arms back on. I think that this whole cradle's been out and it's never been completed and put back in. Even the shocky bolts are a bit loose. The rest seems to be all snug and tight, and it's got nice new brakes in there. I don't think there's any fluid in that system yet. There's a split pin missing off that handbrake cable. And this trailing arm's missing. It's also missing its secure bracket, and I don't believe I have one. Yes, I do have one. So we'll put them on first. Get the old bolto in there. Where's the bolt? Hey, bolty. Maybe that's too long, that bolt. Maybe this one will fit. You can tell me what size goes in there. I think you'd keep the freaking nuts, wouldn't you? Bolts for it. Oh, God. For Pete's sake, get out of there. What am I to do? What am I supposed to do? What size are these bolts? Pete's well, we can get two of them in. Well, these trailing arm bushes don't line up. They're about 10 mil out, and I'll just look up closer to see if the subframe bushes have been put into place correctly, and they're all still loose. And we see up there the bolts aren't being done up, so I've got to adjust this cradle and get it lined up so we can get those trailing arms on it. I'll just look up there, and those nuts and bolts are still not secured yet. So it's been put in, but it hasn't been lined up properly, and that's why these trailing arms are still off it. Well, I've attached the front bolts and found some extra bolts out of my Boxo parts on both of these. But we've got to adjust that somehow. Work on that. Well, it was a shame that this thing was an abandoned project, because he spent so much time and money on it and never finished it. We'll never know the story why. They have a 420G short stud motor, and it's pretty special. King springs. Bushes have all been replaced as like neoprene in the steering rack. Still got a lot of grass and shit in it from it being sitting around for a stack. That radiator's looking brand new up there. Pretty good. The amazing thing is a bit of surface rust there, but it's all been treated, underbody treated. Exhaust system's all brand new. It's had a lot of work done on it. A lot of work. Before we start attacking the spark plugs, I just wanted to test all the injectors to make sure they're all working. I've got my little injector tester there, and my fuel pressure regulator's hooked up to the rail. We pressurise the system. We just turn on the ignition a bit. It's up to 70 psi. We just pulse our little pulsar there, and it should open up the injector, and yeah, which it does, and it drops it down. So we'll go through all the 12 of those, make sure all the injectors are pulsing away, but I think they're alright. So all the injectors are working and clicking. We'll just see if the pressure, the fuel rail holds pressure, and make sure none of them are leaking. Okay, the moment of truth. Still missing a little bit on that left-hand cylinder, but let's first test drive in 8 years. We might be able to just get do a bit of Italian tune-up by just driving around it and see what happens. Whoa! Oh, it sounds like the power steering belt's slipping a bit. Now she's actually going. It's quite smooth on the road. Brakes are good, sort of. Get around these bumps. On 11 cylinders she's running. No rattles, no knocks in the front suspension or anything. She's really smooth. But I think that power steering belt is just slipping a little bit. It's a bit tight to pull around that corner. You can just hear it screeching a little bit. It has oil in it. "11 cylinders. Should we go? Okay, we've done a little lap. Shall we go a bit further? Can I get her up to Dr. Jag like this? Probably not. Seems to be a bit smoother. Maybe it was just that little electrical wire I fiddled with. Still need to pull those plugs out, but I can't get to them without... I have done a V12 HE before and pulled the plugs out, but it seems to be harder now than it used to be. Window closed. She's not coughing and spluttering like it used to when we first fired this thing up. Turn off the camera, I'll do a couple more laps and then we'll park it and see what it sounds like. Sounds nice and smooth on this side, but we still have a problem on this side. And also that fuel tank, that fuel pump started winding again. So I'm going to have a look to see if there's any dirt in the system. Even though it's still missing, it's sounding so much smoother. Okay, we've got Miss Daisy on the hoist, so we'll jack her up. So she's up on the hoist. Let's have a little look, see what we've got. Let's have a look at that leak first. That little hose there, I've got to try and get that off and get a new one on there. Or maybe just tighten up the clamps. See how I put, when we first noticed it's leaking, I put an extra worm clamp on there, see if it would hold it at the bottom, but it didn't do any good. A bit of a weep from the power steering, that's pretty standard I guess. Nice and clean sump. Torque converter, doesn't look real new. No drips from the auto. It's looking pretty clean. What about that rubber there? That's just, that could look a bit crook. Exhaust system. She's blowing a bit there. Rubbers and that, All the ball joints look pretty tidy. No damage or cracks on them. Engine mounts. Not engine mounts, subframe bushes I mean, they look good. Neoprene bushes in the steering rack and they look like they're holding up alright. The subframe bush looks good. We'll whiz this oil filter thing off. Put new filter in. We'll drop the oil. Body wise, looks like she might have had some repairs there somewhere. It's been welded. The jacking point still looks strong. Well, I've actually used it, it's good. It's a bit of underbody sealer. The surface rust just coming through. Another little weep from the exhaust system. At the back, this muffler's got a hole in it. This muffler's got half a dozen holes in it. Brakes, oh, those pads don't look like they've been changed for a while. Yeah, it's surface rust on them. Bit of a weep from pinion seal. Just pretend we didn't see that. Plenty of pads still left in those disc pads. Handbrake works, I've tested that. Shockies don't look new, but they work all right and they're not leaking. So we'll give it a grease. We'll grease all these 100,000 million grease nipples that Jaguar have on these things, on the wheel bearings, on the universal joints, etc., etc. They look pretty dry before we take it for a big run. What do we got at the back here? Oh, we've got stainless steel mufflers. They're pretty schmick looking. I'll hang on to them. That one looks pretty good. Okay, not too bad at all. We'll just fix that oil leak, it's the most important thing. Change the oils. And grease her up. What else did I have to do under here? Oh, and release those back brakes. First thing to do is whiz those pads out and see if those pistons are moving. Hopefully they won't be too seized up. And I've just noticed these are special bolts that go in these trailing arms by the looks of things, so you can put the lock pin over the top of it. This one's got the lock pin, but no one's actually bent it over, so they're not really hexy looking. So I'll have to find something for the red beast. Okay gang, that's going to be it for this episode. What I didn't put on camera today was Miss Daisy. We got an oil change done and we did a filter on it. I didn't attack that little hose yet. We will get to that. And also what I did today, it was a pretty rainy, ugly day today. I got the red series one. I pushed it out and took some photos of it because we're going to put that up for sale. So hopefully we can move that pretty quickly. I'm batching at the moment. Wifey's down in Flinders Ranges on the back of camels, trekking through freezing weather, sleeping in swags with a bunch of other girlfriends. Anyway, so I've got a couple more days we can work on a few of these things, so I'm going to hit the video and get going on and see how we get progressing with these 3 items that I have in this garage at this present time. And just to let you know, there's another one coming. It's a secret. We'll wait till we get to that, till I get to it. I haven't even seen it. It's sight unseen. I have put a deposit on it, which is pretty exciting. That's coming up. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It really, really helps my channel. Thanks, guys. Catch you next one.